We have some breaking news from the Storm Prediction Center early this morning on May 17th, 2021. A moderate risk has been issued in western central Texas. This includes the cities of Lubbock, Abilene, Big Spring, Plainview, and Levelland. And in this video, we're going to be looking at the specific components which are coming together to support what is a significant risk for severe weather, including very large hail, given here by 45% hail probabilities, and we also have 15% wind and 4% tornado. Now, looking at the surface dew points, this is going to be the first indicator of instability because the thermodynamics are going to be a really big component in today's risk. So, heading into the afternoon hours, to the east of a dry line, which in this model is represented being right in through here, we have very moist low-level conditions developing where surface dew points could reach the mid-60s to even 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So very moist low-level conditions combined with very steep mid-level lapse rates. Look at these values. This area right here in the southern plains, as we have dry air aloft come in, what's called an elevated mixed layer, this is going to feature mid-level lapse rates that could be 8 to 9 degrees Celsius per kilometer. Very, very steep. And what's that going to allow to develop as we head into the afternoon hours? Well, first of all, in the morning hours, we've got some thunderstorms over northern Texas, possibly parts of Oklahoma. Now, that could result in some stabilization of the air mass, slowed amounts of moistening and destabilization, but we are expecting significant air mass recovery and major destabilization to occur into the afternoon hours, because by the time we get to 00Z, when things are really going to be getting going, riding through this area in particular, we're looking at surface-based CAPE values that are 3,000, 4,000, maybe even 5,000 joules per kilogram. In particular, this area riding through here, which is covered by the moderate risk. Now that's going to be leading to some very strong convective updraft potential, some very large hail potential too, when we have these supercell structures that are going to be likely. And this is given by this map here that we're looking at. Now this is an overlay of surface-based CAPE and effective wind shear, or effective bulk shear. The lines would be the surface-based CAPE value, and the colored areas are going to be effective bulk shear. Heading into the afternoon hours, we see things start to increase, and by the time we get to 00Z, something very interesting and eye-catching right in through here. We have very strong effective bulk shear that is 40 to even 50 knots. The greatest combination of this wind shear and instability is going to be right down in through here, over parts of western central Texas, and possibly even stretching toward north central Texas, where we have thunderstorms go later. This is going to feature tremendous low-level buoyancy as given by the SB CAPE of 4,000 joules per kilogram or more, and effective bulk shear that's 35 to even 45 knots. That's going to be supportive of supercell structures and a huge hail threat, which we're going to be looking at as sounding here momentarily. But what's going to be limiting the tornado risk? Because you probably wonder, if we're having intense supercells with very large hail, why is the tornado risk only 5% by the SBC right now? And as I said, this could change with changing forecast thinking, but really what we're looking at here early on along the dry line, low-level winds are relatively weak at 850 millibars. We're only looking at 15, 20 knots. This could go 25 knots, and then obviously after 00Z, as we head into the overnight, we're going to be looking at higher values because the low-level jet is going to increase. However, I wouldn't totally discount an enhanced tornado threat locally, because you recall earlier I mentioned that there's going to be thunderstorms going on early in the period. Those thunderstorms are probably going to be producing some kind of outflow. This has been simulated by a lot of models in simulated real activity and various output that we're looking at. That is going to probably interact with the dry line at some point. And where that does, it's going to be maximized low-level wind shear. Already here we're seeing this easterly low-level component switching rapidly to southwesterly aloft. Easterly because we've got the surface low that's going to be associated with the dry line over New Mexico, and southwesterly aloft as we have an upper-level trough eject into the region and bring upper-level dynamics and a modest increase in the upper-level flow into the area. That's reflected here in the hooded graph that is curving, not extremely large, but is still curving quite significantly. And as we see down here, effective inflow values of SRH are elevated above 200, 250 meters squared per second squared even, based on this model. Now in most cases, helicity values are going to be much lower, but I think in this area, it's going to probably be relatively enhanced, and by this area, I mean right around in through here, because that's where the outflow boundary and the dry line will probably intersect most with large low-level buoyancy. Heading back to the sounding, that is why there could be a locally enhanced tornado potential, especially within the first hour or two of convective evolution. But aside from that, what we see here are some very glaring indicators of an unstable air mass. Very large positive area here, dry air aloft, very moist low-level conditions, this back to low-level profile that switches to southwesterly aloft, and the sufficient vertical wind shear for supercells. And given the extreme buoyancy that we have, down here you see surface-based CAPE is almost 5,000 joules per kilogram. We have very high composite parameters right in through here. We've got supercell composite parameter, which is over 20, and we've got significant hail parameter that is almost 3.5. That is very high and very indicative of an environment that supports very large hail, potentially even giant hail. Now we're going to be looking at the HRRR run. This is from 00Z, looking at simulated reflectivity. So heading into 21 and 22Z tomorrow, things really start to pop off from northeastern Mexico down along the dry line into western Texas. That's going to be the focal point for thunderstorms as they develop into the evening. Now, as we head into those coming hours, the most significant convective development is right in this moderate risk area. This is the zone where we're seeing probably the greatest potential for intense supercells, which are going to produce very large hail, potentially giant hail. You could get hailstones 3-4 inches in diameter, even locally higher, could develop today. So very large hail, which could be quite life-threatening, quite damaging if you don't take proper precautions, and tornado potential too, with this early development. Now, heading into the evening, we're going to see convection that starts to transition from a discrete supercell into this clustered mode, more of an MCS type thing as it heads toward the north central Texas area. That's going to be a result of strong instability that remains as we have enhanced upper level support coming into the area. So that's going to support that upscale growth, and wind and hail obviously going to be the biggest threats with that. Now into the nighttime hours, as this convection develops and pushes the dry line back to the west, I am sorry for that. That was not meant to be there. This is going to be initiating potentially some more convection in the same areas that had thunderstorms earlier in the day during the nighttime hours. So even if you had thunderstorms during the evening and the afternoon tomorrow, don't discount the potential for significant severe weather to develop, or at least some severe weather to develop, in western central Texas tomorrow night as a secondary round. That's going to be leading to an additional risk for severe weather. So this is what we're looking at with this moderate risk that has just been issued by the Storm Prediction Center tonight. Very large hail is looking quite likely, and there are likely going to be numerous reports of it as it progresses through these areas. Now, my coverage of this, I am probably going to be joining David Schlotthauer in live coverage of whatever's going on in this event during the evening hours tomorrow, so I will include a link in the description if you want to go check that out. This has been a severe weather risk evaluation for May 17th, 2021.